So a few months ago, we decided to throw a house party. Nothing big, just a couple hundred of our friends, a $10 entry fee, a cool DJ, and a couple of guards. We thought it was going to be the night of our lives. We were so excited, and our friends were even more excited. However, what the night turned into was a disaster. So the 200 people that were supposed to get in turned into 250. And of those, we only knew around 150 of them. The other 100 were people that we intentionally did not invite and people that we did not want to get into the party. However, because of the primitive paper list, it was so easy to bypass the guards. Second was long lines. Because of the primitive paper list, it took way too long to get past security. Third was that guards stole all the money. All the money that we were supposed to get went into the guards' hands. All they did was leave before we can catch them. And lastly, we overpaid the DJ. We realized that all of our friends paid almost half of what we paid. So the next day, while cleaning up the mess, we realized that maybe we're not alone. Maybe there are other hosts out there that want to throw parties. They want to enjoy their night, but ends up having these disasterful nights like we did. So we set out. We interviewed over 50 hosts, and we found that there were 4 underlying problems in every single host experience. Long lines, crashers, an inefficient ad door payment system, and difficulty finding and comparing services that you need for your party. So we knew that there was a gap in the market. We knew that hosts were sick and tired of throwing these parties only to have the worst time there. And with that in mind, Loop was born with one goal: to make hosting truly worry-free. February 1st of this year, we released our MVP, which makes it easy to throw a party. Simply invite your friends, and every single guest gets their individualized invite and an individualized Loop ticket, meaning that if I invite you to a party, there's no way that anyone else in this room can get in with your ticket. We are proud to say that 12 party hosts adopted our product despite it being in its very early stages, and at these parties, there were 0 lines and 0 crashers. Next, we implemented solutions to the third and fourth problems that we mentioned earlier, which were inefficient ad door payment and difficulty finding and comparing prices for DJs, guards, and venues. With our new build, it's easy to invite your friends, and better yet, it's easy to spread the word about your party. Something that we found from speaking to hosts was that not only was it hard to get the information out there about your party, but it was hard to get information about your party out at all. So we created Loop codes, which makes it easy to spread the word. Now, from the 12 hosts that have adopted our product, all of them have been happy. According to Brian, Loop has changed his party experience. It has made it easy for him to throw a party because he knows that every single part of his partying experience is taken care of by Loop. And in the first month of our payment processor being implemented, we have great numbers. April 1st to April 28th, we have handled over $21,000 in transactions. We have 2,000 plus new users in April alone, and we have brought in over $2,500 in revenue. Better yet, we're growing. In May, we have already had 7 parties booked on our app. We're on track to handle over $32,000 in transactions. We have 2,500 plus new app downloads that are going to come in from those 7 parties, and we are going to double our revenue rate to $5,000 per month. Our monetization strategy is twofold. First, we take a 10% cut of all ticket sales, and to keep costs low for the host, we make guests bear the entirety of this fee. Second, we act as a marketplace between hosts and services like DJs, guards, and venues. In return for the added exposure that these service providers will receive through Loop, we ask them to lower their rate, and we upcharge that rate 20% to those hosts. Our per party revenue, here's an example of a party that we had 2 weeks ago. Off of ticket sales alone, we made $300 in revenue from 10% of a $3,000 ticket sold. Then, from upcharging various services, we made $250. That's $550 in revenue per party. Now, in no way are we the first company to try and make hosting a party easier. Companies like Facebook Events and Eventbrite have done amazingly. Facebook Events has 550 million monthly event users, and Eventbrite has over 3 million tickets processed per week. However, we hold 3 main advantages that these platforms lack. The first is branding. As high schoolers, we are in the target market that we are trying to attract. Therefore, we know what our target market is looking for, and we can tailor every single piece of our content to that market perfectly. Also, Facebook Events and Eventbrite have done great at creating a uniform product that attracts the average consumer. However, high schoolers High schoolers want products that are tailored to them specifically, and they want products that are targeting their specific needs. The second is Loop ticketing. Loop is the first platform to focus so heavily on making sure that the QR codes are crash-proof and the tickets are crash-proof. And third is our individualized attention to what the host needs. We looked at every single part of a host's experience, and we have aggregated every single website, every single app that they go into, for every single reason, into one platform, Loop. Now, marketing strategy. We market our product in three main ways. First is the product itself. Loop is intrinsically viral in that when I create an event, I become an ambassador for the brand. I invite 200, 300 of my guests, and all of them become new Loop users. The second is direct outreach. As high schoolers, we know when the best parties are happening, and we know who's behind them. Therefore, we make it our mission to contact every single host for now in Los Angeles and get them on board. We have found that this has been extremely effective, and of the 12 parties that we had in those 2 months that were not organic, this is how we reached them. And third is Instagram. Believe it or not, Instagram is a huge party market currently. You can see all these accounts, Valley Parties, has over 15,000 followers for an account that only posts parties happening in the LA area. And if we look below April 27th party, there were over 2,500 followers for one party. Now, let's talk about who has made it possible for us to get here. We'd like to thank Sean Rad, co-founder of Tinder, Justin Mateen, co-founder of Tinder, and Brandon Akeem, CEO of Insider School. We'd also like to thank our 3 accredited investors for signing $300,000 worth of term sheets into Loop. And last but not least, we'd like to thank Richard Dahan and Roger Kassabaum for helping us stand on this very stage today for co-founding Founders Bootcamp, the first high school accelerator in the world. We truly believe that we are changing the way you experience a party. Hosts are sick and tired of experiencing these problems, and we're happy to say that we're making the solution. We truly want to be the end-to-end platform for all-in-one party hosting. Thank you. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks. So believe it or not, I threw a lot of parties when I was at UCLA. And one of the things that you talked about was the invite list and how you manage that invite list. How do you make it really easy for somebody to upload or integrate all the people they want invited into the list? And then if you could also speak to, are there certain abilities for people to, well, maybe we'll start there, yeah.
Yeah, so what we've seen even when we're interviewing hosts is that this is a big problem for them. You know, you threw parties. It's hard to invite the people you want, hard to put them into, especially a new app. What we did to go around this was there's 2 main ways you can invite your friends, through phone numbers or through party codes. As said before, party codes are the easiest way to get the word out about your party. So if I'm trying to invite people to a Founders Bootcamp event, I can make the catchphrase Founders Bootcamp. When people download the app, the first message that they're greeted with is, do you have a Loop party code? After they enter Founders Bootcamp, they instantly gain access to the event. They get to see where it's happening, and better yet, they can buy their ticket for the event.
And so how does the person get invited? So let's say you're throwing the party. How do I get notified that that I've been invited?
So there's 2 main ways. If I'm an existing Loop user, I'll get a push notification. If I'm not an existing Loop user, I'll get a text message telling me to download the app with the download link. After I download the app, I automatically get invited to the event because I signed up with my phone number, which is the same phone number that was invited by the host.
Oh, interesting. So you're forcing users, in order to access their invite, to downloading the app, the app.
This is only what we're doing in the beginning when we're gaining all of those users onto our, in a way, it's like our onboarding process. But after we go stage by stage, so we're starting in LA, what we've seen is that as we have those users, it becomes way easier to invite them to parties because we're not expecting them to download a new app. So I see what you're saying.
Interesting. And have you, so you tested this with your prototype. How many people who were sent invites actually downloaded the app?
So all of them. So actually,
100%.
Every single one of them. So if we're looking at private parties where I have a specific list that I want invited, all of them download the app the first time, meaning that they actually really wanted to go to the party, and they were willing to simply download an app to get their invite. Also, we're happy to say that if we look at the host experience was improved because of this platform. On top of that, the guests not have to wait in line for 5-10 minutes. Probably at your UCLA parties was much longer. We've been to parties where we had to wait an hour just to get in. So yeah, the whole problem is mitigated for guests too.
Excellent job, guys. Really excellent.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to hear you already got term sheets because I was going to talk to you afterwards. I get the model for the host as far as how it works for the host. I think it's really well thought out. Somewhat similar to Am's question is, how are you getting the identifying new hosts? You got the direct outreach. I get that. That's not going to scale.
Not at
So
all.
how do you identify? How does a host? Because the typical host is probably not going to run that many parties professionally. They're going to have maybe a couple or so. But how are you going to get to more hosts? Make them aware of it.
Like we mentioned about our product, when one host makes a party, 300 other people are notified about it. And you can have 300 people from all over. Later in our development of the product, we do need to implement more features that make people aware that they can host a party on the product, because that's one thing that we saw is they think they only have a guest app and there's another host app, but say on the ticket it says, want no lines at your next party, contact us. So we definitely are moving towards a future where we're going to implement more triggers to host a party.
I know I have teenage kids, and one of the things that they do is they invite each other through Snapchat. Most of them don't even have their cell phone numbers anymore. They just deal with Snapchat. Have you guys thought about these type of integrations with social media?
Yeah, so the main one that we've thought about was Instagram. As you guys saw, there are huge followings on Instagram. We've thought about creating kind of so instead of having to invite you through phone number, I can create a private account on Instagram, and on my followers list, when I sign up for Loop, I will input my account for Instagram, and if I'm following that private account, it'll say that I'm invited to the event. We thought about things like that. We just don't want to mix ourselves with other platforms, because then it's kind of going to blur the lines. We've thought about going through Facebook events, but we really want to distinguish ourselves as the hosting app and as the app that handles everything party related.
Great idea, by the way.
Thank you.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
I've seen a bunch of parties being thrown at my house and at my friend's house and everywhere else. So great idea, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Great job, guys.